trying to expand globally. Long curly hair and a beard, but he ain't Toby Keith. You might have thought it's beef, but we gon' handle that. Stealing jerseys off of the wall like fuck Vanderjack. Okay, he ran with that, and now he's on the loose. Put a little bit of poison in his Jamba Juice. Go ahead and drink on that, just take another sip. Need an appraisal? Shout out to Ron Huff and Dick. The kids loving this. I know you heard it, son. The purpose is perfect. Every person we learn something from. Go ahead and come along. We have a little fun. A few questions. How about 31?
31 time. We are back. It is good to be back. I hope you guys are all doing good. Another week of quarantine. We're all stuck inside. I'm sure some of you are at work. Thank you to the essentials working hard out there. I hope everybody else is doing good. Hopefully not wanting to kill your family, but enjoying family time. We are doing pretty good over here. Me and Shire are having a lot of fun, trying to make the best of it. We got another good episode for you guys today. My buddy Cousin Sal came on. If you don't know Cousin Sal, he's one of the funniest people I've ever met. He is so funny. You can see him almost nightly on Jimmy Kimmel Live. He is the host of Lock It In on Fox Sports 1. And if you're into sports and gambling, then you know his podcast Against All Odds on The Ringer. He's on with us today. Very, very fun interview. So we'll get to that in just a sec. Quick shout out to all the Patreons. We're at 40. If you want to join the Patreon list, come aboard. We got plenty of room for you. We're glad to help you. We're glad to help me have you have. I'm losing my mind. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I got some big episodes coming up next week. Really big. Probably what I think is the biggest comedian in the world right now is going to be on. Well, one of them. My favorite comedian, so he's going to be on. We have another guy who's a very funny up-and-coming comedian who's very famous, also putting out the best content, I think, on YouTube and Facebook. His videos are incredible. And then we have this one, and I'm reaching out, keep trying to do this. This one is a good interview. It gets a little windy in stretches. I think Sal was outside, but it gets, like I said, it'll get windy in a couple spots for 5 or 10 seconds, but just plow through, stick with it. Obviously, I can't say anything because I just appreciate him doing the show, so I can't be like, hey, here's my list of demands. So I don't know what he was doing, but it's worth it. Just listen to the stories. He tells incredible stories, and he's just a funny, cool dude. So before you even think about tweeting at me something about the wind, like, I get it. I could hear it when I was listening, but I just have to be grateful that these guys are so busy and they still take time to give us content. So I just appreciate that. And like I said, the little bit of wind is nothing compared to the great story. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I love talking to him. He is one of my favorites. I hope you guys are good. And like I said, we're doing it. We got big ones. Cousin Sal is the first of big ones to come. So he tells some great Jimmy Kimmel stories on here, some great sports stories, and just funny stories about his crazy life. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and wash all your stuff and be nice to whoever you're stuck with during this. And I love you guys, and thanks for listening. And here we go with Cousin Sal. And we are back. I'm still locked in the basement down here in the Content Factory. I got another great episode for you today. My guest today, he's a writer on Jimmy Kimmel Live. He's a co-host of Lock It In on Fox Sports 1, and he hosts his podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts, called Against All Odds. It is my buddy Cousin Sal. How are you doing, bud?
What's happening, Brandt? How you been, man?
I'm all right, man. Bored out of my mind, but I'm doing okay.
By the way, I feel like, you came on my podcast, actually it was a while ago now, over a year ago, but and you killed it. I mean, actually, you almost literally killed it now that I think about it. You told a great story about how you and your brother concocted a plan to murder your father, and I'm not going to be able to top that.
You're
my
fine.
father came by and gave Easter baskets to the children on Sunday, and we made them stay 10 feet away. But I mean, that doesn't even compare. That's nothing.
No, you got a great father. Yeah, I was socially distancing from my father long before this happened, and I'm not saying I'm rooting for people to get the virus, but it couldn't happen to a better person if that happened.
Well, I would like to see that list of people you are actually rooting for.
It's short. It's really just him. I think everybody else I'm pretty good with. But yeah, I'm just bored out of my mind. This sucks for you. I can't imagine with no sports.
Yeah, it does suck. It's it turns out it's a vital part of my livelihood, and there's the reporting on it. As you said, thank you for the intro on Lock It In. That's what we do all day. Is we talk about sports gambling on sporting events occurring on that day, and now there aren't any.
Yeah.
And then there's the other part of it where I have to get my fix. So it's, what do I do? I mean, the first week of quarantine, I hate to say this, but I lost like $90 on virtual camel racing. And then I've gone downhill from there. It's terrible. All these sim matchups and players playing horse. And I just hate it. I really do. Hate every part of it.
Well, what do you think? What's your over-under for the return of sports?
Well, I think, first of all, early June, they're saying already. I think golf is committed to a tournament or two. NASCAR should be back around then as well. I think MMA is obviously, they fight to get to the forefront. They would do it every day starting tomorrow if they could. I think they'll be able to run some cards. But these other leagues, I think they have to have a plan in place. I would say by May 1st or the first week in May. That's not to say that's when the sports will start up, but they have to, NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, they have to at least decide if they're going to cancel their season. And if not, they have to put, like I said, a plan in place. NFL, not as urgent because it's 5 months away, but I think they expect to start on time. But, yeah, I'd love to hear something at least by the first week in May.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm struggling with. The frustration is like, and I know it's impossible to say, but I was like, I just wish we had a finish line that I could look forward to. It's just the uncertainty. I was like, come on, just give me something. But I started to get scared, no NFL, and I don't know what I'd do without the NFL.
They talk about it, and they discuss, like, all right, even if they do put it in one state and they quarantine all the players, and because the NFL is so much harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, basketball, there's 10 players. You could make a basketball game with 25 people probably. NFL, you got 106 with the two rosters. You have officials, you have medical personnel, you have coaching staff. Already you're at 200,
Yeah.
And can you test that many every day, every week, times 16 games? I don't know that you can, but we do have. I just want to not die from it, right?
Yeah.
Short of a vaccine, don't you want something? There should be some treatment by October, September that tells you you're not going to die, or the likelihood is very, very slim. That'd be nice.
That would be great. All right, here, let me give you some questions here. We won't dwell on sports. It makes me sad already. As a Bronco fan, I just found out my best player has the virus, so it couldn't. Yeah. It just gets worse and worse. Okay, here we go. Question 1: where are you from, and where's the best place to eat in your hometown?
Oh man, I am from East Northport, Long Island, New York. I grew up in Long Island, born in Brooklyn. I like Emilio's Pizza, which is in, I guess, technically Comac, but, it's just, I've gone crazy with the pizza. I don't know how you have been in the last few weeks, but anything I can get my hands on. But Emilio's has the pepperoni that curls up when you cook it.
Yeah.
And that's just tremendous. That's the game breaker for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
We're doing pizza about 2 or 3 days. I'm the same way. Weirdly, there's a pizza, these guys from New Jersey moved to Wyoming, which I always joke about is witness protection, but these Italian dudes moved to Cheyenne, and they opened a pizza parlor called Parkway Pizza, which is still my favorite pizza. So,
right. But
I haven't found any great pizza here in Denver, honestly. We've been we're still looking, but nothing too great.
Well, I don't know how far you have to go, but a lot of these places are selling what they call pizza kits, and it's fun and it's easy. You can kind of put them together. You can also get like Chicago pizza. What's the Lulu Monte? What the hell's the name of it? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Lulu something.
Yeah, we got we got the chain Chicago one. Just came in like 5 blocks away. The Gardino's or something, but it's all right. It's not my favorite. Yeah. Let me see here. When's the first time you asked somebody for an autograph?
First autograph I asked for.
Yeah.
Wow. This is funny because you're friendly with my cousin Jill Kimmel. our brother Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if you know him, whatever. I don't expect you to know everyone's siblings, but we went wrestling, pro wrestling. AWA was popular in the West Coast, and then Las Vegas, where they lived. And Baron von Raschke, I don't know if you remember, this bald maniac. He's probably like 60 years old, but still wrestling on like the main events for the AWA. And he had the claw, and he'd get that claw into you, and that was it. You'd have to submit. That was, before MMA, but who's going to stand up to the Baron's claw? And we all, I asked him for an autograph. I was amongst like 7 or 8 people after the match, and I asked him for the autograph, and then I left and walked, and my cousin Jimmy and I just watched him from like 20 feet away, looking to find us to give the autograph back. I don't know why. We thought that was the funniest thing, that this heel is looking to track us down to give us an autograph. But
that's funny.
I guess that would be the first. Yeah.
That's awesome. You don't still have it, do you?
No, I never got it.
I got you.
Maybe he's still holding it. Who knows? Baron, if you're listening, DM me. I'll come retrieve it.
Come pick it up when this is over.
Yeah.
What's the most money or coolest thing you've ever won? You don't have to say money. This usually isn't for a gambler question, but
yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah,
I'm already down. I'm a day behind in taxes, although they moved that up, right?
Yeah.
No, I should do it. Well, this is going to sound lame, but I used to collect Beanie Babies, and I won the Purple Princess doll in honor of Princess Di. That was worth at the time $350. I won it in an Apple.
Oh, no.
And now I think now I don't think I can get 35 cents for it.
Yeah, it's crazy how I remember how my girlfriend at the time, she loved them, and we had to go through McDonald's and try to get them all. And I searched and searched for a lot of those, like you said, they're probably not worth shit right now. They're probably I could get them all probably for $350.
Yeah, well, there's a general. I used to use my nieces and nephews to go to these shows because some retailers refuse to sell to adults. And so I'd have to bring them, and they couldn't give a crap about any of the stuff. So that was that.
That's funny. What's the weirdest thing you've ever had happen with a roommate?
With a roommate?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so this would be college. My parents were cheap, so I was in they'd call it a threesome. It didn't, it wasn't anything like it sounded, but instead of sharing a room, you'd split the rent 3 ways on campus, and one became a 2 when one of them was picked up for selling cocaine. So that was that. Weirdest thing, though. Oh, that very same roommate. We used to do this thing. I organized, not a good idea. If anyone's ever to go back to college, I don't recommend this, but we'd have like pillow fights in the laundry room on the floor, the community laundry room, men and women. And everyone would grab a pillow, but the key was you would do it without the lights. The lights would be out. We'd shut it. And then we'd turn them on for about 10 seconds, and then we'd go at it again for another minute. And we rotated who flipped the switch of the lights, but my roommate busted up his nose and was sent home for like 2 weeks as a result. And that was it. That was the end of laundry room pillow fight.
Yeah, that sounds like that sounds like the first CTE case is just drilling. Right. Well, do you collect anything now?
You know what? The last thing I really collected was Mets memorabilia, and my cousin and I got in on that. They were tearing down Shea Stadium, and we got a piece of the left field wall, which was good, and that was pricey. But we also got a hold of like the Mets 1986 World Championship sign and the 1969 World Championship sign, which. But growing up and seeing guys hit the ball off of that, it was the greatest thing. And then we owned it. And then it came in the mail, and it was just like this piece of cardboard. It was like, It was, as they said, the last sign hanging at Shea. But the problem, what they tell you is like, this is something the Jimmy Kimmel Live art department could have whipped up in 4 minutes. It was on cardboard. They obviously changed it every time it rained. And that was that. So we took that as our cue to stop collecting anything.
Yeah, that's a little false advertising. That sounds a lot cooler on paper until it shows up.
Right.
Where's the worst place you've ever had to sleep?
I've had to sleep. I would say probably, again, keeping it in the family. My Aunt Chippy's living room. New Year's Eve night. It was me and my 5 friends. We lost all our money gambling. I'm sure you've been down there.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford a hotel. She's right there in Vegas. We went there, and with about 15 other 22-year-olds in her living room, I think there was like one pillow for every 7 of us, and we'd switch off like every hour or so. That was it. I mean, it was probably the greatest and the worst place I've ever slept.
Yeah. That it could be much worse in Vegas.
Yeah.
I stayed in those budget suites for a while, which is the worst. Which I always tell people is the worst place I've ever slept for 10 minutes. It was hard to sleep. Actually,
I probably stayed in more hotels that are now defunct. We stayed in like the Algiers. Like I just the Continental was real. Like that was upscale. Compared to everything else, everywhere else we had to hunker down in. But yeah, how about you?
When I got there, I thought Sam's Town was like the coolest hotel ever built. And then you know what, the one, I think it was called Castaway in the end, which I think was kind of over by where you guys lived, and it had like a bowling alley. But that place was shady where I was gambling in there. I bet in there, and then they would give me comps, but they weren't like good comps. Like a couple nights, I just had to stay there, and I was like, "Is this really?" But I stayed at part of the first couple months. I lived at the Boulder's budget suites on Boulder Highway, which was pretty brutal. It was interesting. It was a hard place to sleep for sure in Vegas.
Some of these places would entice you. I remember the Continental gave you a free ace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a giant. You check in and you get an ace. It's the size of like the front page of the USA Today. So it's like, oh my god, this is terrific! I get a free ace, but I'm gonna win all my money back here. This is gonna cost me nothing. And then you get to the table and it's a $2 maximum bet.
Yeah.
And then you argue with the pit boss for 20 minutes, and you find out that you're still stuck with a $2 ace. And then you get dealt a 6 anyway, so you're back to even with anybody. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, stay away from the free ace, I would say.
Did you, growing up there, like, did you ever have any like crazy? Like, I'm an idiot. I had a couple gambling things that I thought were just like, I didn't understand math, but I had one where like if I just doubled my bet, I'd have to, and then when my genius one I thought was roulette. I was like, I'll just walk around until I see it hit red or black like 8 times in a row, then I'll just double up, and then of course, and it works a lot till that one time, and I was like, God, this is. Yeah. I thought I was going to have so much money, and then I lost all my money, and I was really betting by the end. I think like $1,300 to profit $5. I was like, I am the biggest fucking moron.
You know, I always saw that, and I came to a conclusion after years of being stubborn and being like, oh, there's no way I'm going to lose 12 in a row, and then like you realize you're going to lose 12 in a row within 3 hours if you keep doing this, you know?
Yeah.
I realized that you could do this if you have $10,000 and you're trying to win lunch every day.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think that's really, you're not going to get rich that way. And it's scary as shit too. So
yeah. I fell into that world too, because when I worked for all the gamblers, that was kind of the thing of like, I would see them. We'd go out to these big dinners, and they would always just. We'd come out and they'd be like, let me let the casino pay for this, and they just throw down $600-700 on blackjack, and they'd always win, and I thought it was so cool. So then when my friends would come and I would try it, and then I'd be like, dang, my $300 dinner is now $600, or I get a double down and it's like $900. I'm like, oh my gosh,
it always looks good, right?
Yeah, but it's so much more fun to win money than earn it. I just love it so much. Well, speaking of gambling stories, for me, this is. Well, I don't know about this, but what moment in life were you the most scared?
What? I'm sorry, what?
What moment in life were you the most scared?
What moment? Interesting. I have to say, I was most scared and most proud, probably at the same time. We were in Washington, D.C., and my cousin Jimmy was roasting Shaq. And I knew all of his jokes ahead of time, and they were almost all off color and going to piss somebody off. And they were going to make a lot of people laugh on the day too. But it was like Shaq and a lot of basketball players and Tommy Davidson and a lot of thuggish looking security guards flanking either side of Shaq, and then like a choir comes on, a gospel choir, and sings the opening, and I'm like, oh my God, we are so screwed right now. There's no way. I was like actually looking for the exits and everything, but Jimmy killed and Shaq laughed, and that was the key. I mean, that was it. Shaquille O'Neal laughed. Everything else is good. So again, I think that was the most scared I was.
How long ago was that?
That was probably 1998 or 1999, right in there.
So if let's say Jimmy, if you guys did
Shaq was in third grade, so it didn't really make sense. Yeah.
And he was still. But if you guys did it today, just hypothetically, what percentage of those jokes could you tell right now, do you think?
Like 15, 20%. Not a lot.
That just means they were probably incredible jokes.
Yeah, the world has changed.
Yeah. Well, speaking about stuff like that, what was the first time in your life you were like starstruck, or you're like, I can't believe we're at this point, being a kid, just growing up in Vegas, and then when you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here or around this person?
Oh, let me think about this for 1 second.
I mean, here's just real quick. Do you even realize how famous Jimmy is, or is it just like so regular to you?
Well, right. I mean, I'm jaded beyond that.
Yeah.
With him. So I do appreciate that people don't like to be confronted. I think Jimmy does a good job of like, signing a few autographs and then moving on, or now it's selfies. So, but I do have that in my head. Like, so many people I would like to meet still, but I was like, you know what? That's a pain in the ass when people approach Jimmy. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm trying to think. That Baron von Raschke thing, I kind of think I made it there when I asked for an autograph, and then they take it. Let me think. Who did I meet? I think with Tyson was a good one. We used to have a co-host the first year of Jimmy Kimmel Live, and we had a very subdued Mike Tyson for a week. And my thing was pillow fighting the tougher celebrities. That pillow fought. Again, it comes down to pillow fighting, but I go for like Goldberg and Lennox Lewis and The Undertaker and Mike Tyson's week. We approached Mike Tyson. It's like, hey, will he pillow fight Sal on Friday? And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. Turns out Tyson had like 15 handlers, and we talked to 14 of the wrong ones. And finally, it's Friday hits, and Tyson is not doing it. So Jimmy brings me into his dressing room before the show and says, Mike, my cousin Sal wants to pillow fight you on air. And Tyson's like, no, I won't do it. I'll fucking kill him. And Jimmy's like, no, he's really good. He's beating The Undertaker. He's beating Stone Cold. He's like, no, I'll fucking kill him. He's like, no, I'm telling you, we have video of and then like it dawned on me. I was like, oh, no, I get what he's saying here. Even if I beat him, he will fucking kill me. He'll put the pillow down, and then it's all fisticuffs, and then I'm trying to dodge 4-punch combinations from Mike Tyson. They're like, thanks, Mike, we get it. Jimmy, let's get the hell out of here. So I think that's in a weird way. I realized I had made it that day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that could have gone so bad. At least Mike was smart enough to go, this is probably a bad idea.
Thank God. A moment of clarity, right? Like, I could have easily thought of it another day, drug-induced state or something, where it was a different reaction.
Yeah, I was telling a buddy yesterday a story about, because he used to do a one-man show at the MGM when I performed there, and one day I caught him just in this little private hallway, and he came out of this elevator, and our eyes met, and I just felt a fear I don't know if he's just having a bad day or something, but our eyes met, and I felt something I'd never felt in my life of like, he could just kill me right here if he wanted to. And he was very sweet.
In an elevator, you said?
No, he was coming out of the elevator, and I was just coming out of this door. So we just kind of, there was no one else around, and I think he was just thinking about something else, but he looked up with this look, and we looked at each other, and I remember I'd never felt anything like that in my life of just a weird fear. And he was sweet all the other times I met him and everything, but in that moment, I don't even think he realized what he was doing, but I was like, oh my God, that was really scary.
He didn't get it. I talked to Teddy Atlas, a longtime trainer, on my podcast yesterday, who held the gun famously to Tyson's head because Tyson had been inappropriate with a younger relative. I think it was a niece of Teddy Atlas's, and even you get the sense that even holding the gun to his head, he was terrified of what was the result. So.
Yeah. Well, you're famous for doing all the pranks and doing a lot of great pranks on Jimmy Kimmel. Is there any that didn't work that we didn't see that you're like, everyone knows not to ruin them, I assume, but is there any that you're like, damn, I almost had this one and then somebody messed it up?
Yeah, there's a few that we never aired, but maybe the premise wasn't as strong as we had thought when we got out there. I can't specifically. What happens more than that is the best mark will often not sign, and we have to get releases. Obviously, we can't. We don't get releases ahead of time because they don't know they're being pranked until afterwards, and then we approach them like, "Hey, Sal was just joking. You look great. He looked like the idiot." But sometimes people are so furious. Like, I count on missing out on my best mark every time I go out, because if you push it too far, they're going to be so. I mean, I worked Costco returns, and I had this douchey lawyer type guy come up, and he had his Bluetooth in, and he was returning grapes, and I was like screwing with him. I was like inspecting every grape, like. But Costco's so lenient with their return policy. Like, you can return grapes. Like, you could eat half of the grapes and just return them 3 weeks later, and they'll have to take it. But I was being an asshole, and I'm like pretending to be an employee and checking every grape and asking him 45 questions about the grapes. Like, did you sleep with any of the grapes? Like, I did just dumb shit. And he was not in the mood for it. And he says, he's like, "Do you have any idea how important I am?" And I said to him, I was like, "Listen, you don't have to tell me. You just waited 20 minutes in line on a Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock to return $4 grapes. You don't have to tell me how important you are. I could see it, right?" And he just he went crazy. He went out of his mind, and there was no getting him back. A lot of times a $50 gift card to Applebee's will go a long way. But with some people, they just dig in, and they're just not signing, no matter what. They don't care, and he was one of them. I was like, oh God, as good as this bit comes out, I would have loved to have buttoned it with the asshole attorney who was returning grapes the whole day. But
when you're shooting that, is everybody just kind of anxious and nervous around, or?
Yeah, we pretty much have the same crew every time, so it's a pretty good. We're locked into what kind of, depending on what kind of sting operation it is. I have a little more bravado when I'm like behind bulletproof glass, and that's a check exchange place, and I do just right there in the street, like interviewing hobos. But I think there's already. I'm always watching people's hands, no matter what. It might not look like it, but I figure I don't want to get them to get a free shot in. But and actually in Vegas, it's funny. I had one where I think I worked at Stardust Buffet, and I was a busboy. Now there's a buffet, so the idea behind a buffet is you get as much food as you want once you pay, right? So it doesn't really matter if someone screws with your food, or it shouldn't, at least. And, I was clearing plates before people were done, and there was like a 300-pound man who chased me with a butter knife. Again, didn't sign, but really it was life or death that he was going to have to go up to the carving station again to get another plate. But, I mean, there's things like that all the time.
Have you ever pitched any that they're just like, nah, this is too far?
Yeah, I mean, early on it was like the Wild West with us. So, it's funny. Our lawyers seemed tougher back then, but that's the thing with Disney. They have deep pockets, so they're gonna settle. They don't like. I was always like, you know what? So what if we get sued? Who cares? Well, what better publicity is that? You know, but they don't want anything to do with that. I can't remember specifically. I did want to run outside once in the early days and see how long it would take for me to get punched in the face. More of a jackass thing than anything, but they nixed that right away. I also was supposed to steal one of the Oscars on one of the Oscar nights that Jimmy hosted, but that didn't get very far either.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. It's always cool when you do it, and it's so funny because I do like a little prank call show. I did this Craigslist Chaos thing, but what always weirds me out is everybody around that's not even involved is what gets so nervous. Like my girlfriend can't even just sit in here and listen. She's like, it gives me such anxiety. And I even think sometimes when I'm watching you, I get a little nervous for you. And I'm like, and I understand content. I'm like, Sal would probably love to be punched in the face. It would be maybe the best thing that happened. He's going to survive. But yeah,
you know what it is with me? Like, I just want to go home. I just, well, now it's going to change because all I am is at home. But when I would shoot these things, I'm like, I want to go home. I don't want to do this for 16 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And we'll just keep doing it until we get it right, or keep doing it until the right person signs the release afterwards. And so that's why if like I break, you know, if I start laughing in the middle of a take or whatever, I just, that's my inspiration right there, that I just don't want to, I just want to get home and get out of there. So, yeah.
That's awesome. What's the best costume you've ever worn?
Costume? Wow. I don't know why everything comes back to wrestling, but Roddy Piper, WrestleMania 2, when he boxed Mr. T, and I wore a kilt to Nassau Coliseum, a kilt and a hot rod shirt. And I took the Roddy pose, went down to one knee, did the hand signal, and sections and sections of people booed me. And I was like, that, you know, that also might have been the time I thought I made it. My weird head, but if that counts as a costume, I would say that. What about you?
That's a great costume. You know, I people ask me that all the time on here, but it sucks as doing stand up. I don't even really get to do Halloween anymore. I usually end up doing shows, but the one that I actually liked that I wore, I was doing shows in Vegas a couple of years ago at Halloween, and I just bought the Stardust, like the onesie thing that like the coin drop wore, which was like just more cool for me because that's good. When I moved to Vegas, I thought the Stardust was the coolest thing. So I had found this like vintage still in the plastic. And so I wore that, which it was just, like I said, it was cool for me because when I got to Vegas, I thought that going in that Stardust sports book for the first time was like heaven.
Stardust is getting a lot of mentions today. That's really, it's a shame they can't capitalize off it.
Yeah.
What I said about the buffet. And, there's a lot. I think it was one Halloween. I think the theme was criminals, and I couldn't decide between Michael Vick or George Michael, so I went as George Michael Vick, and I had the 5 o'clock shadow and the earring and the Vic jersey and like a shitty dog like to walk and terrified people the whole night.
That's great. That should have won the contest for sure.
Yeah.
What's your go-to fast food order?
It's changed over the last few years, I think. But these things with the quarantine, you see every day on Twitter, there's a new, if you can only keep 3, you know, and it'll be like all 9 fast food chains, and you're like, oh, this is dumb. And then 2 hours later, you're still arguing with your wife and like drawing up divorce papers because she's taking Taco Bell over Chick-fil-A. But I think I don't even know what it's called, but I'm into Shake Shack now. You get a lot of Shake Shack, are you?
Well, you know what? Actually, we have one that's the closest thing to me. It opened about 6 months ago, and so we walk. It's only about 3 blocks away, so that's what we've kind of been doing during this is just pick it up at the curb. But yeah, I like Shake Shack a lot, but I'd never had it till people always raved about it, and I had just started eating it like when it moved here. So
right, yeah, my same thing. My East Coast friends loved it. It was at Citi Field where the Mets play, and it finally came out here. And even their chicken sandwich is underrated, but burgers are dynamite. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you loved when that Chick-fil-A went in right by JKL there.
That's a pretty good one too. It's always crazy crowded. The other thing that sucks about it is no matter how much I know this, for so many years, I always try to order it on Sunday during football, and they continue to not be open. And I'm just, I know I'm the idiot, but that just kills. I was thinking about starting what if you opened the place on the corner and called it Chick Valet and just were open on Sundays? Yeah. And bought up all their shit Saturday night and just sold it and put it in different bags. I think we could do that. I don't know.
You would crush it. No, because I lived right there by the Jimmy Kimmel Studios, and I was the same way. Sundays, I'd be like, oh, this is football, let me go. And then I'd be like, oh, shit. I guess we're doing Chipotle. Yeah. Chipotle it is. What's the best concert and sporting event you've ever been to?
Wow, that's good. I like a lot of bands that you would think are lame, or a lot of people would think are lame. I'm big 80s guy. I saw Chicago and the Beach Boys at Jones Beach once. I'm a big Huey Lewis and the News fan. But I think the best is I had the worst seats in the house Genesis at Madison Square Garden in 1986. And I really never believed in nosebleed seats. But we were so far up and my nose started bleeding and I had no money, but it forced me to buy like a $35 concert shirt because I was crimson all over from head to toe from a nosebleed in those sections. I mean, they should just sell shirts in those sections for $50 and they make a fortune. Something like that. What about you?
You know what? One of my favorite times was actually going to Jimmy Kimmel and seeing Garth. The day that that Joe brought me, because I'm a big Garth fan, so getting to meet Garth was cool. And I love, Garth's like my favorite. But I saw Rage Against the Machine one time that was great, and I try to go to as many shows as I can. So I've always wanted to see Genesis, and I heard they're coming back, but I think it's only I don't think there's any America dates, but I'd love to see Phil Collins.
Forget about everything now. Watch them on YouTube. What are they saying in Colorado about? I mean, our mayor came out and said no festivals, no concerts, no big sporting events until potentially fall of 21.
Yeah, I don't. Well, no one. He hasn't announced that far, but Red Rocks canceled all their shows, so that's been everyone hates that because I don't know if have you ever been to Red Rocks?
No, I haven't.
It's incredible.
I heard good thing.
Incredible. Yeah. You know what's crazy is one time I was trying to sneak into an event in Phoenix and I was at the guest relations part and I saw these people come in and they complained about they had like nosebleeds and they complained that it was bothering them and they got upgraded to better seats. And I asked the guy, right? I go, you can do that? And he was just like, yeah, it's like one of those things we kind of have to do it. And I was like, holy shit.
They have to pretend that safety is a concern.
Yeah. So I was like, wow. So if anybody's listening, you can at least shoot your shot. Just go to guest relations and say, right. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh, I can't, that really works. And yeah.
Oh, man. See, the things you find out too late.
Yeah. When I'm trying to sneak in. What about favorite sporting event?
But like a specific sporting event or just in general?
Like specific. What was the best game you were ever been to?
Let me see. I've been to a couple. I've gone to probably more Super Bowls that I haven't actually seen the game. I think I've been to the city 13 or something, and probably 14 Super Bowl cities, and only seen 3. But one of them, I think it was Cowboys Steelers, 95, 96. I always get confused with the season and the year where it ends up, but. Cowboys won 27-17. Again, I didn't have a lot of money. I was in law school, and I went with a buddy. And, Cowboys won. But it was one of those things, I'm an idiot, because I bet the over, which was like 51. And the Cowboys not only won, but they covered. But because I had the over, I could not enjoy the stupid game. So that's a whole thing for me.
Yeah, that sucks when your team finally wins and you're still worried about money.
I got to say, though, as I get older, I don't really care about going anymore as much. I think once your TV is big enough and it splits into a couple of screens, or you can watch 8 games at once. Like I think that's why this pandemic, I'm like, all right, let's try it without fans. It's fine. It'll be a word. I just need to. I mean, how much easier would this be if you had a sporting event to look forward to every night or even every Saturday night,
Yeah, it's crazy. When I left LA and I came back to Denver, I was like, I can go to every game now. And then there was a couple times when I was laying on my couch going, man, I have free tickets to a Bronco game and there's nothing I'd rather do less, which as a kid, that it was so hard to go to Bronco games and everything. I just never dreamed it. But with fantasy and the red zone and stuff, it's so hard to get me off the couch on Sundays, to the point where, I mean, I used to go out a lot on Saturdays, and now it's like, man, it's like Christmas Eve every week. It's sad how much I love Sunday football, but I'm like,
well, the other thing is, when you were a kid, you were probably like, you weren't driving, and LA, every venue is awful out of parking wise. When you were a kid, you're like, all right, my father has to deal with this. I don't give a crap. Although you might have had a different story with your father driving.
He was telling me that John O would come to my house. He's the worst. Yeah, it's weird how the experience is I can't imagine that LA traffic. We got a pretty good setup here, but it's still sometimes it's like even when I moved here, I lived across the street from Coors Field. I could throw a baseball and hit the stadium, And there were still
Really?
days when I was like, I'm good. I think I've been
Did you
spoiled.
ever actually do that so you could say that with a straight face?
Yeah. Because someone, of course, my friends called me on. I was like, you couldn't do it. But I literally, I just throwing it. I mean, it bounced to it, but it rolled right up to the thing. It's nothing impressive. If I showed you where I lived, you'd be like, yeah, my son could do that
really?
easy. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was pretty cool because that way I could, when I'd see people leaving early, I was like, I just have to walk across the street.
Yeah, well, I think if it's not that impressive, you need to change baseball to like paper airplane.
Yeah.
It'll make it a little harder, a little more challenging. But I get the idea.
What song always makes you happy when you hear it?
What song? Well, I have to say the Fox theme song. My wife and I walked down to the Fox NFL Sunday pregame show theme song. That was our wedding song. And like Pavlov's dog, whatever I've been doing at the time, as soon as I hear that, I have to stop, and I know it's football time. Much to her chagrin, if that counts as a song.
Yeah,
take me out to the ball game would be fun to hear at this point. But
no, that's a great answer. No one's ever said that, and it's so true. That's funny. What's the weirdest or craziest thing you've ever done for money?
For money? Let me see. I'll tell you something I did not for money. My buddies and I, we wrote at the Jimmy Kimmel Live, and we were bored, and we just said, if the Lakers Celtics goes 7 games, we'll get steroids. And there was no bet. We don't win anything. So it's not really a bet, but if it was going to go 7 games, we were going to get steroids. And then one guy kind of pussed out, so we changed it to Botox. And sure enough, it goes 7 games, and they're like, this is lame. We'll just get Botox. What's the big deal? No one's even going to notice it. We'll get 3 shots of Botox. So we tried to do it. You talk about the show lawyers. We were going to record all this and put it on the Jimmy Kimmel Live. But what happened was we were going to do it on one of those double-decker buses. So at least there's a challenge. One of us can get poked in the eye and, got lose sight or whatever. And then the lawyers clamped down on it at the last minute. So we did it instead at the Hooters next door. There's a couple doors down from Jimmy Kimmel Live, upstairs, while the downstairs was being robbed. So we got the danger element of it, but we had no idea about it. It's actually online, right? Botox bet, and I think you'll see me and my friend Tony and my friend Brian getting Botox.
That's
for nothing.
And they were just for content.
That's right.
And you don't have to say names on this one, but what's the biggest bar tab you've ever seen picked up?
Well, I have to say there's bar and food including. This is going to sound obnoxious, but our agent James Baby Doll Dixon, I think if you listen to our podcast, you heard me Simmons talk about him. All he does is brag about all the money he has. So whenever he takes us out to eat, we try to run the tab up as much as we can. And he moves in that mission by taking 6 or 7 cigarette breaks in a 2.5-hour meal. So he'll leave to take to pull out a lung dart outside on the patio. And then we'll huddle with the waiter, and we'll be like, all right, we want this. We're going to order that table wine. And as rich as he is, he still freaks out when he gets the bill for once it was $12,000 for 4 of us, I think. So, and usually my friend Daniel is behind that. Jimmy's there, Bill Simmons and others. But but one time in particular, I ordered 3 seafood towers, and Baby comes back from his smoke break and sees the seafood towers, which are probably going for $160 each, and he's losing his mind. And all the other tables looking at him, they don't know what the hell's going on. And then somebody said, I forgot who said it, but he's like, I can't believe it. Look at this. A comedian walked by. Who's the comedian with the sister? Shit. You could cut this out. I don't even know.
No, I was going to say Jimmy.
So, I can't remember the name.
Comedian with a sister.
Sudeikis? Jason
Jason Sudeikis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He walks by. He cut all that stuff, but he walks by, and Baby Doll knows it. He's like, hey, do you believe this? 3 freaking towers? And he delivered a perfect line. He's like, oh my God, even the terrorists can stop the 2 towers. And so that was that.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
fun.
now we'll never be able to go out to dinner again.
Yeah,
That's
now
right.
it's good that you stuck it on him when you got the chance because
yeah, Baby Doll's gonna be able to leave his daughters a fortune as a result.
What's the greatest physical pain you've ever felt?
I have to say, again with wrestling, but it was pro wrestling, and Roddy Piper was training me for my match. I had a match in 2008 against Santino Morello. Through Jimmy, we got a storyline, and Roddy Piper trained me. He was my favorite all time, and he was not in a good way at the time, and he needed to show off a little. And he beat, in addition to choking me out, which that shit is obviously real.
Yeah.
He threw me around the ring, and I have pictures of like how black and blue I am. And I love him to death. I really do.
Yeah.
He was like a father figure to me. Eventually, when we got past all the pain and the brutality, but yeah, I think that was the most. It was terrible because I was a grown man too, and I had to like suck it up. How about you? Whatever you have, your story's probably better.
No. I can't imagine. Well, what hurts the most? Just slamming on the mat, or just like the?
Yeah, I think I landed on my rib the wrong way, and he wasn't really. I think I was counting on him to adhere to the pro wrestling rule. I don't know. I just because I had trained for the match too with these semi-pros, and nothing hurt. Everything we went out. You take bumps, as they call it, in the middle of the ring. And nothing hurt if it was done right. And then he just kind of manhandled me. He dropped me on my shoulder wrong. And I remember having bruises and everything.
Yeah, that story's way better than mine. Mine's like probably when my gout flares up or something lame. I had a toothache one time that I thought I was going to die. But yeah, you have a much better story than me.
What do you do with the gout? Do you still have the gout? Because I feel like I have it a little bit. But, and what is it, rich foods or mostly after drinking for you?
Yeah, well, I think what gets me is the soda because I took the soda out. But they say it's like alcohol and like meat and shellfish, and I always people always ask me about it. I'm like, it's the king's disease is what they call it. Yeah. I'm like, you'll never meet someone if someone has gout. They're pretty cool. That means they've lived life. Is at least my badge of honor with it. But I hope you don't get it, man, because it just hurts. For me, I think it's the sugar.
It really is shellfish and soda. I don't know how the hell I don't have it.
Yeah, that's how my diet is: shellfish, soda, and I think red meats. But then. Yeah, if you start feeling it, and I take a pill every day that helps it, and now that I've cut out soda, but I think each person it's different what triggers it. So hopefully yours is like beer and stuff since you don't drink, but man, it hurts so bad.
Well, I not seafood towers, I guess.
Yeah, but who's not going to eat seafood towers? You got to. I told my girlfriend when we were in Hawaii, she's like, you're not supposed to have that. I was like, what am I? I'm not going to eat this seafood tower. I have to. We're in Hawaii. All right, we'll give you a couple more and get you out of here. What's the best party you've ever been to?
Let me see. Been some good ones.
Yeah.
Best party.
Like when Jimmy hosts a big event, are you guys just too exhausted to party afterwards, or what's that like?
Well, you mean after the show, kind of?
No, like if he hosts like an award show or something, or I'm sure I've been around.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. I mean, at that point, it's just a state of euphoria. The thing that sucks is we always have to work the next day. There's a Monday show, and the Oscars are on Sunday, so you got to kind of crank it up and start all over. So talking points are due 9 a.m. the next morning, no matter what. But I would say Tony Romo's retirement party. It had a lot of my favorite Dallas Cowboys were there, and George W. Bush was there.
Wow.
So it was really crazy. It was like dignitaries, and he had it all Star Wars out, so it was also like a 6-year-old party. So it was like a little mix of every little thing, and that was pretty crazy.
That's pretty sweet. Just at his house or just somewhere in Dallas?
Yeah, it was at his house. He was able to fit everybody into his 30,000 square foot house. So.
He squeezed everybody in?
Yeah. I don't know how he did it.
That's awesome. What's been your favorite day working at Jimmy Kimmel? I know that's a way too hard of a question. Or what comes to mind when I say that? Because I think
just the first day, honestly. The first day of everything's the best. Right? Like Coldplay. Not even that I love Coldplay, but they shut down Hollywood Boulevard for Coldplay. Mm-hmm. They at that point, there was going to be a little bit of an extension of the Man Show, in that the audience was going to be allowed to drink. That lasted one day as a woman vomited all over herself and had to be carried out. But there was drinking in the audience. The Man Show was the same thing. It was like there was like tailgating in the parking lot for a TV show. It was ridiculous. But I would say that first day at Kimmel, because it was also the day of the Super Bowl. So Tampa Bay played the Raiders, and we were going to air right after the news, which followed the Super Bowl, and we were preempted till late. I think we didn't go on until like 1 o'clock in the morning. So we had all these guests and all this preparation, and I don't even know how many people ended up seeing it. But
that's awesome. I love it when you and Simmons talk about like those first year or two when it was just crazy. They said it was. I remember when I think I got to LA right after that, and I've been lucky enough to come hang out at the show, but everyone, even anyone I talked to the show, and you included, or Joe's like, yeah, you missed like when it was like the wildest party. It was like the go-to club to get in.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was almost like the green room, and we made a show from the green room rather than the other way around. Like, but the show was first of all, we taped live back then at 9:06, and which made it tough to get guests because publicists don't want to stick around. They have kids and everything. They don't want to stick around till 10:30, 11. So as if it wasn't hard enough for a new show to book talent, that got in the way. But anyway, as far as fun and the staff goes, we would be there. We'd write all day, and then we'd shoot from 9 to 10, and then everyone would there was hard alcohol in the green room back then. So that thing would be open till like 2:30. And I remember my Uncle Frank, he was a security guard on the show, and he wanted to go home immediately and watch the show. He wanted to watch it back just to see himself wave in the corner for like 8 seconds. So either me or my cousin Mickey more, but we would drive him home and then come back to the green room to party. Like, it was really stupid. Especially when you don't drink, it's really, really stupid. Yeah, to spend that many hours there.
It's funny to hear like celebrities be like, before I was a celebrity, I would just try to sneak into the Jimmy Kimmel green room, or I was that was like the coolest thing. I was like, it's so wild.
It's great. I mean, every fourth guest has that story. Like Aaron Paul was a big green room guy, and I think Jonah Hill. A bunch of people.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, here, let me wrap this up. I'll give you one last question here. Some of these questions are built for comedians, and you wouldn't like. Well, here's one question. You probably already. I don't even know how you'd answer this, but who's the most?
My rider.
Who's the most famous person you have in your phone?
Oh. Let me look real quick. No Larry Green. No Bob Cutler. Wait. The G's going backwards here. I have Lenny Dykstra in my phone.
That's the craziest person.
He's the craziest. Obviously Jimmy. I have Knoxville on my phone. He's great. I think I have Tracy Morgan there.
Oh,
I don't know why I keep. I should take Dykstra out. Really, it's really been. I've been thrown out of a couple restaurants. Because he doesn't know how to behave. But there's one story where we went to the Sunset Tower on the site of the seafood tower fiasco, but this was a different time, and we sat down and watched, and he got drunk, and we watched the Mets on my phone. We watched the actual game streaming on my phone, and they're playing the Phillies. I was like, this is a cool moment. Every 40 minutes he would tell me about a house that he could flip if I gave him $50,000. He'd give me $150 in 3 days. But if I was able to dodge that, I was like watching the Mets with Lenny Dykstra. It was kind of cool. And he's like, "Well, I usually do a Facebook Live thing after the game." So I was like, "Well, you haven't even really watched the game. Should we be paying attention?" He's like, I don't care. So we watched the game. It goes like 12 innings. The Mets blew it. And he's like, "All right, let's go to the pool, and you'll record me, and that'll be that. I'll just sum it up for a minute." I was like, "All right, great." And we go out there, and we see Paul McCartney, who was not in my phone, by the way. But we see Paul McCartney talking to some guy at the table, and he's like, "Oh my God, we got to get Paul in here." I was like, "Dude, don't." This goes back to like me not wanting to bother people, but I was like, let's not. I don't want to do this. I really don't. He's like, no, you got to do it. So we settle on what's going to happen is I'm going to record him. He's going to mention in a very soft voice Paul McCartney. I'm going to pan the phone over to McCartney, who hopefully won't be looking, and then I'll pan back to Dykstra for the remainder of his recap. And so we go 3, 2, 1. He's like, all right, Lenny Dykstra here. The Mets, true Mets fashion. They blow it in 12 innings. The bullpen sucked. And fucking bullpen right there. Oh, my God. And I don't move. I don't budge. Yeah. And he's like, well, pan. He's like, pan. And I don't even get the pan. I wasn't going to because he broke our agreement. And then through 3 monster spooks just have their hands on us and like are guiding us out. McCartney had us thrown out, and that was, and he had a crazy line. He said to Dykstra, he's like, Paul McCartney would love me if he knew who I was, and that was that. And he went back and forth between being furious with the security guards and furious with me for not panning, but I think he forgave me eventually.
Wait, he's not. Is he in LA? Like, do you have to see him a lot, or just special occasions?
No, I don't. No, he was at. It depends whoever's guest house is staying in. I think he's on the East Coast now.
Yeah, he's.
The last I saw, he was offering up his services, his oral services on women during this pandemic. So. That doesn't benefit me at all. So I don't understand.
It's weird when your childhood heroes become crazy
it
people.
Is weird. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I loved Romo. Obviously, I was a little older then. I loved Dykstra. That didn't go great.
Yeah.
That little run with Emmett Smith wasn't great, So.
Well, Romo worked out all right.
Romo was great. He makes up for all of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully you'll be back soon. You guys can listen. You guys are still doing the podcast, and then hopefully we'll get sports back and get back to life soon.
Yeah, we got the big draft coming up Thursday, so that'll be good. And then, I'm going to be losing my mind because then I think we're done. I think for a good month before we see anything else. So,
we're hoping.
Nice if, sports to come back.
Hoping for the best. All right, here, let me give you this last question. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you're super busy, problem. So thank you. I appreciate it. Last question. If you could script your last words before you die, what would they be?
Oh, man. It's funny. I thought I was so cool in high school, and I'll stick with this. I took from a Huey Lewis song, Jacob's Ladder. All I want from tomorrow is to get it better than today. But and I think that would be extra ironic if those were truly my last words. It wouldn't make any sense at all. So I'll stay with that.
Which is so. Would you ever believe in high school you'd be friends with Huey Lewis? That's got to be the craziest part.
Staying at his ranch and fishing.
Yeah, that is
Huey Lewis screaming at me for refreshing NCAA tournament scores while on the whatever river it's called out there. We're supposed to be fly fishing. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, thank you, buddy. I've so much fun talking to you. I will. Hopefully, I'll see you one of these days at the sporting. Hopefully, I'll see you out here for some football.
Yeah, I'd love to see. You know what? I'd love to see anybody.
Yeah,
really would.
Yeah.
Just include in that list.
Yeah. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, thanks, Sal. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. See you, bud.
Okay.
Brandt Tobler trying to expand globally. Long curly hair and a beard, but he ain't Toby Keith. You might have thought it's beef, but we gon' handle that. Stealing jerseys off of the wall like fuck Vanderjack. Okay, he ran with that, and now he's on the loose. Put a little bit of poison in his Jamba Juice. Go ahead and drink on that, just take another sip. Need an appraisal, shout out to Ron Huff and Dick. The kids loving this, I know you heard it, son. The purpose is perfect, every person we learn something from. Go ahead and come along, we have a little fun. A few questions, how about 31?